audio. Can you hear me now, Monica? Can you hear me? So let me just start from the top, right? Here we go. Welcome to the Black News Network, the real voice of Military City, USA, bringing you the news from a Black perspective. I do not own the rights to the music. I do not own the rights to what I say. So let's get with it. My name is Kayla Mayenja. I am with Helen's Project. We're a nonprofit out of Dallas, Texas, and we focus on the stability of homeless, unsheltered individuals as well as low-income families. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about homelessness and what does it look like in our communities and what do we need to do to fix it? And, from various different perspectives. So let's start off from the top. What is homelessness? When I say that, most people immediately think that homelessness or a homeless individual is a person standing on the side of the street, panhandling, someone with significant drug problems, someone with significant mental health challenges. But let's be really clear, since COVID has happened, homelessness looks different. About 80% of the clients that we serve at Helen's Project are actually seniors. They're seniors who have lived in their home for 10, 12, 15 years. And these investors have come in, have purchased their homes, hiked up the rent to something that they're not able to afford any longer, and then told them you have 30 days to get out. If you've tried to find an apartment in 30 days when you have not had to look for an apartment or a rental property in 30 days, it's unrealistic. And better yet, when your income is only $1,200 a month and a one bedroom starts at $1,950 and you have to make 3 times the rent as well as have a credit score of 650. So imagine taking all of that into perspective and trying to find somewhere to live in 30 days. It creates homelessness. Another vision that most people don't understand about homelessness is we have a lot of families. We have a lot of mothers who are living in their car with young children. Why? Because if you can't afford $600 a week for childcare, what are you supposed to do so you can work? How can you work a full-time job to be able to pay rent and pay for childcare when the cost of living exceeds the minimum wage tenfold? So we see a lot of women who are living with their children in their vehicles. And then what makes it even worse is they're being ticketed for living in their car with their children. And they're being told by officers, if I see you again, I'm going to call CPS. So if we're creating this cycle of homelessness and we're creating these cycles of, financial instability, what is it like? What do people expect? What do you expect to happen at this point in time? So when you see someone and you're thinking like, oh, their life is great, or better yet, when you see people on their Instagram and on their Facebook and they've got these awesome pictures and everything, I mean, social media is a lie at this point because what you don't see is what's behind the screen. You don't see that parent that's struggling to make ends meet. You don't see that senior person who now has gone from living independently on their own to having to live with their older children, sleeping in a room. You don't see so many boarding homes or people who are now buying 5-bedroom houses and then renting out each room for $400 or $500. You don't see that, but that is the face of homelessness today. That is what homelessness looks like. And now there's so many programs out there. Oh, everybody says get on Section 8, get an emergency housing voucher. Well, guess what? An emergency housing voucher is not an emergency. I can tell you that. Even once you get approved for this new program, which is an EHV program, there still is the complex task of finding a place that is going to accept your voucher, which is what we call now rent reasonability. Rent reasonability means you have to take the amount that is offered for paying your entire voucher. So let's say, for example, we have Susie Q who got approved for a 1-bedroom apartment at a rate of $1,500. So that rate of $1,500 is also based off of a zip code. So let's say that zip code is 78254. So the max rent that can be paid out is $1,500. On top of that, you're going to have to deduct a certain amount, let's just say for this scenario, $150 for the cost of utilities if it's not all bills paid. So now I can get a 1-bedroom for $1,500, subtracting $150 in the 78254 zip code. I don't know how many people live in a 78254 zip code, but if you can find a rental, a 1-bedroom rental for, let's see, 1,500 minus 150, what is that? Like 14 something. I didn't go to school for math, so I'm not really sure. So we're going to say 1,400. Okay. So find a $1,400 1-bedroom in a 78254 zip code that will allow you to move in, where you make below the federal poverty guidelines, which for a one person means you have to make less than, I think they just lowered it to $20,000 a year. You make less than $20,000 a year for one person, and you have to be able to live in that zip code and make 3 times the rent and have a 620 credit score. I don't think it's possible. So how do we solve these problems? How do we create solutions? Then the biggest thing that my agency does is we do what's called rent negotiations, where we go to landlords, we have conversations with them, and we say, okay, we've got this person. They have the ability to afford this place with our continued support. What does that look like? That looks like meeting with us every week. We do case management, we work on job readiness, we work on interviewing skills, we work on finding substantial income. If it's a mother with children, we work on childcare, permanent and affordable childcare for them to be able to get a stable job. So we go to that landlord and we say, if we work with them on this, this, and this, are you willing to give this person an opportunity? A lot of times we're told no. I mean, let's be real. Who wants to lower the rent to something where you're not going to have a high profit margin? But that's where that negotiation word and the advocacy word really comes into play with our agency. So we go back to that landlord and we say, okay, what would it take for you to approve this person, to bypass that credit score, to bypass the fact that they don't make 3 times the rent? What would it take for you to take this person, give them a chance to live in your property so they are no longer homeless? That's when we get the different responses from landlords. They want to know that if I take a chance on them, how do I know my investment's going to be secure? How do I know my property is not going to be damaged? How do I know I'm not going to have to go to eviction court? How do I know that I'm not going to have to do these additional things to ensure that my investment is not coming up in the red? So this is where we like to offer what's called landlord incentives. Landlord incentives mean that we are willing to go to that landlord and say, look, number one, we're going to maintain this client. We're going to see them every week for at least 1 year while they're living inside of your property. Our goal is to make sure they get everything they need, so that way, even while they're on this voucher, they can financially sustain themselves. On top of that, in the event that you have to go to eviction court, number one, you call us first. And trust me, they are quick to pick up the phone and call us. We have prevented so many evictions because the landlords have entrusted us to resolve the issue before it gets to the point of eviction. But as a part of landlord incentives, what we say is, if you have to go to eviction court and you have to proceed to evict this person, we will cover the cost of the eviction. And furthermore, landlord incentives can even include covering the cost of damages up to a certain amount, of course. We say we will cover the cost of damages up to a certain point, again, to help protect their investment for taking a chance on this individual. The other thing is we will encourage and require our clients to get a real proper and real good insurance policy that we will cover the cost for 1 year and put the landlord on as a rider. So that way, if any damages occur, they're more than able to put in an insurance claim to cover whatever cost. All of these things go into that negotiation, so that way we can encourage the landlord to either A, lower the rent so it falls within the rent reasonability, or lower their standards that require them to allow that person to live in there. Remember, I said making 3 times the rent or having a certain credit score. We do these negotiations, I would say, probably 10, 12 times a day. We'll go back and forth with different landlords. Sometimes these negotiations go on for weeks, and I'll be honest, sometimes they go on for months. But because we have taken the initiative to really understand the landlord and what the landlord's risks are, and also understanding exactly what our program is capable of and what success we're able to produce through our program, By taking that time and taking that initiative, we're able to get people with felonies to have a lease. We've been able to get mothers with several evictions to go into second chance leasing, which is really like third, fourth, fifth chance leasing. And then not only are we able to get our landlords to take the opportunity to give our clients an opportunity, but then we're giving our families an opportunity, a second chance at life, essentially, because they don't have to face these problems alone. They don't have to sit here and wonder, are my lights going to get cut off today? Or do I have to make the choice to pay my light bill or to pay for food for me and my kids, or even just me by myself, or pay for my medicine, or pay for that doctor's appointment? I don't have to make that choice alone. So, by working through our program, our clients are able to know that they have the support, they have a hand to hold, they have somebody. Now, this is the aspect of homelessness and getting people housed that a lot of people don't realize. But the other part of it is that we can't save everybody. And this is a concept that, I have to tell everybody, even people who are actively working with our unsheltered neighbors today, right? Is let me ask you this question. If you have an opportunity to live 100% comfortably, you are comfortable, you are not uncomfortable by any means, and you do not have to pay a single bill. No utilities, no rent, no mortgage, no gas bill. You don't have the utility company say, I'm going to turn your stuff off at 11:59:59 because you didn't pay the 20 cents over on your bill. If you had that opportunity, would you take it? I know I'm sitting here silent, like y'all are sitting in front of me saying yes, but I feel like a bunch of y'all are shaking your head. Yes, yes, I would take it. I could live and not pay a single bill. That is the reality for a lot of our clients who are living in their encampments. There are some extremely resourceful encampments that are out there. Thank you, Monica. Yes, there are some extremely resourceful encampments that are out there. I have been deep into the woods. I have seen tree houses built from rubbish that has been found on the side of the road. They have built stairs up into a tree where there is a fireplace, there is carpet laid out on the floor, they've got a cot built out, and it's running off of a generator. And his most expensive thing that he has to pay for is gas. So when I asked this gentleman, I said, what are you panhandling for? Because you get a disability check, but you keep getting ticketed because you're panhandling. So what's going on? He said, well, have you seen the cost of gas? That generator takes a lot of money, and my disability check mainly pays for my medical bills and my food. So I have to panhandle to, substantiate the gas expenses. I said, okay. Well, if we give you a gas card once a month, would that keep you from panhandling? And that'll keep you from getting tickets, and that'll keep you from getting warrants, and that'll keep you from going to jail. He said, man, that'd be great. That'd be great. So once a month, we give him a card for gas. And because he wants to make sure that we can continue to help him, he gives me that receipt every month saying, here's the receipt, Miss Kayla. I spent it all on gas and it's in my generator. Do we call the police and say, hey, you need to come break this down? No. Do we force him to come out of his encampment and go get an apartment somewhere? No. We don't force him to do anything. And we get asked all the time, well, why? He's living outside. He's living outside. That means he needs to be inside. If you've ever gone camping, you voluntarily chose to live outside for a set period of time. Now, why he may not have chosen to live outside initially, he's been outside for the past 7 years and has turned into a sense of comfortability. Now he is comfortable living outside. He is content living outside where he is. And he has even said if he can find a plot of land that he can buy, he's more than willing to pay his taxes on his land, but he would continue to live outside because he is okay. Why and what world would it be okay for me to come and bust down his world and say, because I am not comfortable with you living like this, I want you to go and live in an apartment somewhere and start paying bills like everybody else? It's the reality of homelessness. Not everybody wants that responsibility, and not even wants, but not everybody can handle it. There has been times that we have taken clients or worked with other programs that have taken clients who have been literally homeless according to HUD, which means you live outdoors, you live in a place that's not meant for habitation, or you're living in your vehicle, and have placed them inside of an apartment. And inside of this apartment, guess what they did? The exact same things that they did when they were living outdoors, which led to lease violations. And guess what? They got evicted. So now, not only did you regenerate that cycle of homelessness, but you didn't provide appropriate skills for him to understand, or this particular client I'm referring to understand that he had to pay an electricity bill. He had no idea how to pay an electricity bill. He had no idea how to pay a gas bill. He had no idea how to work the stove in his house. So instead, everything he ate was microwavable because that's what he knew how to operate. So these basic life skills that a lot of us take for granted, we have to teach these skills when we're taking an individual from being completely unsheltered, living outdoors, and then putting them inside of a place that we deem as appropriate. But we also have to understand for some individuals, because it's comfortable for us and it's what we say is comfortable and what we feel is comfortable is not comfortable for them. And I see your comment there, Monica. Like, exactly. He was content and he felt comfortable. So if we were to go and take your son and say, you know what, we don't like what you're doing right now, so we want to change it. That's not our place to force someone into something that's comfortable for us because it bothers my eyes or bothers my senses. What many don't understand is with a lot of these campments that are living outdoors, there's rules. It's a community. Just like we have our suburbs here, it's the same thing. I've gone into some encampments that are, again, deep off back into the woods. And there's a person right there at the entrance. You check in with them. They tell you, this person, you go to this tree, make a left, hook a right, go down 2 more trees, and that's their encampment. They live down there. Susie Q lives over here to the left. And so we follow the rules of the encampment, or we follow the rules of that particular community, because that is their community. If they come to us and they tell us, "Hey, I'm ready for a change. I'm ready to go to treatment. I'm ready to go to inpatient. I'm ready to go see my family again. I'm ready to reintegrate." When they come to us and they have that conversation, then we're more than happy to oblige. A lot of what we get when we go into these encampments, we do see quite a bit of drug use. And so when they come to us and they say, you know what, Miss Kayla, I'm ready to go into treatment, we say, okay, no questions asked. We're not taking you to jail. We ask that you turn over everything that you have on you. You hop in our truck and we take you down to the nearest inpatient place and we get you inpatient for 30, 60, 90 days, depending on, what your drug of choice is. Same thing with mental health challenges. We've had people walk up and said, you know what, Miss Kayla, I'm just not okay. I'm not okay mentally. I'm not in a safe space. All right, no worries. Let's go. Hop in the truck and we go down. We find to the nearest inpatient hospital and we let them go and sign themselves in. And no, we don't just drop them off them and say, see you later. We actually ask them to put us on their release of information so that way they have a person to contact while they're inside. And they also have a point of contact for discharge. So we can offer continuum of care and continuity of care. So a lot of times when these individuals go into these inpatient settings, we'll get a phone call like, hey, are you aware of this person? Can we make you a part of their discharge plan? We say, of course. They ask, what can we do? And we continue to offer them case management, therapy support groups, and this, that, and the third. So when that person discharges, we pick them up. We pick them up and we take them to either back to their encampment, or if it's a 30 or 60-day stay, we usually have figured out some type of transitional housing option for them. So we'll take them over to that housing option, and then they have, again, a stable place for them to stay. So all of this boils down to, when we're looking at homelessness, we have to understand it. Charlie, I see your question here about how many homeless people suffer from mental illness. That's a really good question. There's not going to be like a set percentage, because what you also have to understand about mental illness is that everybody is one situation event away from a mental breakdown. You're one situation away from a panic attack. You're one situation away from a depressive episode. You're one situation away from everything. So while this one individual may be experiencing homelessness right now and they may not have any type of mental health challenges that's happening with them, That 105-degree day might cause them just enough of a heat stroke with no water, no food, no, cool temperatures, that it can cause enough brain damage that now we're seeing, symptoms of bipolar disorder, schizophrenia disorder. But for the people that we typically engage with, I would say out of our entire clientele, we see maybe about 35 to 40% of the individuals we serve, we will provide them mental health support. And that can be us just sitting out in the field with them, talking to them, processing something that's been going on. It can be getting them to a therapist that's free or reduced rate, because again, a lot of the individuals we serve, they have income. We see VA benefits, Social Security disability, pensions, retirement funds. We see a lot of income within our homeless community, a lot of income. What's even crazier is you'll see that they have an income, but they have no ID. So let's try and piece that together, right? If you've ever lost your wallet, it is a pain to get another one. And now that we have this new Real ID thing, you can't replace your ID without your birth certificate. And you can't get your birth certificate without your social. So if you are an individual who has lived unsheltered for an extended period of time, or even if you just lost your wallet, take that opportunity to go and get an ID and let me know how that works out for you. Because I can tell you right now, it is a pain. I have taken several people who have lost their ID. We've gone to the Social Security office, been able to get certified records and documents to prove that they were who they were, to try and get a copy of their Social Security. But you can only get 4 Social Security cards issued to you in your entire lifetime. I'm sorry, 10 in your lifetime, 4 in a month. So if you have gotten 10 copies of your Social Security card in your entire lifetime, you will not be issued another Social Security card ever again. What are you supposed to do? If you've gotten 4 within the past month, you will not get another one. So you can get a letter saying, hey, Social Security office said I can't give you another one, but this person is who they say they are according to the social that they're giving you. That's as much as they'll give you. Now you have to take that and try and get a birth certificate, but you need an ID first. So to get an ID, guess what you need? A birth certificate. How do you get a birth certificate without an ID? And you can't use an expired one. So what do? We're stuck in this circle. So you have to go to the police department. You have to get a police ID, and not all police departments do this. So you have to get the police to verify your identity. You take that plus the letter from the Social Security office to go to the birth certificate office. You apply for a birth certificate, and hopefully there's something in that system that says you are who you are. So they can give you a certified copy of your birth certificate, and then you take that to the DMV. Go wait in these ridiculous lines or get one appointment, which right now for Dallas, the next appointment is in September. Then you go in, you can only pay cash now, and you go and you get a new Real ID. All of that sounds very simple to people who have the ability and the resources. That's the best way to put it. But if you don't have a vehicle, you don't have income for a bus pass, you can't pay for a Lyft, you can't pay for an Uber, and you also don't know all the other types of documentation that you can get to be able to certify and verify your identity when you go to the Social Security office, then you're just stuck. Without an ID, you can't get a job, you can't cash a check, you can't go into the library, you can't get a library card anymore. Oh, and let's also not forget, when you go to the DMV, you have to have an address. You have to have an address. So there is a form that you have to fill out for individuals experiencing homelessness stating that they work with an agency, and this agency is willing to accept their mail and use the agency address as their address. And it has to be notarized. Can't forget that part. It has to be notarized. So again, for a person who doesn't have the ability and the resources or the knowledge to know that all of these hoops have to be jumped through in order to just get a basic necessity, which is an identification card, what do you expect them to do? How do you expect them to get an apartment? Because remember, all of this conversation started here about getting them somewhere to live. And I mentioned you got to have the credit score, make 3 times the rent, even if you're on a voucher. But now, if that person doesn't have an ID, they don't have a social, they don't have a birth certificate, how can they apply for an apartment? How can they apply for it? They can't. unless we go back to that original conversation, like I said, which is having those rent negotiations and those lease negotiations with our landlords. That's the best resource that we can be, is an advocate. We have to be able to advocate. We have to advocate for change. And those of you that are watching or going to watch, whatever the case may be, the best way to help support the narratives to make a change for this system to create more opportunities for homelessness and better understanding of homelessness is to go and get yourself involved in an agency that is doing something. Don't just pick the first agency you see on Google. Don't just pick the biggest name in the book or the $1 million budget, but pick the agencies that are putting their boots on the ground, the ones that are getting their hands dirty, that are going in these encampments, that are really sitting down and talking to the people that are currently experiencing homelessness. Go help them. Go donate to them. Go talk to them. Go do all of those things. Those are the ones that are really getting in the nitty gritty and getting those real answers. Yeah, Charlie, thank you. And that is, we work with the teams that we work with. We go out with what's called a care team, and it's a paramedic and a social worker, and my team is social workers as well. And we'll offer them sometimes like basic medical care, or exactly like you said, doing a medical assessment, or sometimes we have the officers will come out with us. And we've even had a kind of like a little probate court, so to speak, where we've had people from the county office, the district attorney's office, they'll come out and they'll do quick little court. I can't think of the name of it right now, but they'll help get rid of some of those different tickets and charges that are staying and impeding people's ability to be housed. So that's exactly what we do. Yes. Thank you, Charlie. But with all that being said, today's show is only 30 minutes. And so I'm going to go ahead and close it out with the same way I started it. Welcome to the Black News Network, the real voice of Military City, USA, and bringing you news from a Black perspective. I don't own the rights to the music. I do not own the rights to what I say. So with that, I'm going to wish you guys the best. Again, my name is Kayla Myangel, the CEO and president of Helen's Project, and I appreciate all of your time. Thank you.